Jayam Vishnupal Paramahamsa Paribrajikacharya Ashota Tara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki.
Jai.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Prem Sukaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki.
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki.
Jai.
Ganga Maya Ki.
Jai.
Runamaya Ki.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Ki.
Jai.
Osi Maharani Ki.
Jai.
Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki.
Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanande.
Hare Bo.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, one should first offer one's respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, unto the supermost human being, Nara Narayan Rishi, unto the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. By regular attendance in classes in Srimad Bhagavatam, and rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart becomes completely destroyed, and devotional service to the Supreme Lord becomes established within one's life as an irrevocable fact. Good morning, devotees. It's great to be with you on this Thursday. Today is Ekadasi. Today we fast from beans and grains, perform a little bit of an austerity, and try to increase, most importantly, try to increase our thoughts about Krishna by additional hearing and chanting. Text 30, we're going to be doing text 38, 39, and 40. Text 39 has the purport, so we'll just read right through. What I'm thinking, Mother Shobharati, we'll read right through, and then we'll come back to 39, and then we'll chant. Everybody will chant that one. Yachchotya vyayam ato japyam yat kartavyam Rabi Prabho Smartavyam Baljan Iyam Va Bruhi Yadva Vipravayam. Translation. Screen got stuck there. Let's see.
You're not able to see it?
The translation, no, it's a scroll down for the translation. It's just on the we can see the synonyms, but not the translation.
It's on the screen for me. I'm not sure. Is anybody else having trouble with it?
Not for me too.
You're not able to see it either?
No.
Mm. Let me try that again then.
Yeah, now we can see.
Okay. This is Maharaj Parikshit speaking to Srila Sukadev Goswami. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do. Please explain all of this to me. Text 39. This is what we'll do this call, or we'll do this. Everybody will chant this one. I'll do it 3 times, and then the audience can chant. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedhinam Nalakshatehi Avashtanam Api Godo Hanam Kvachit. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedhinam Nalakshatehi Avashtanam Apigo dohanam kvachit. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedhinam Nalakshatehi Avashtanam Apigo dohanam kvachit. Please chant.
Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedinam Nalakshyate hi avasthanam api go dohanam kvachit.
Nyunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedhinam Nadakshyate hi avasthanam api godo dohanam kvachet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedinam Nalakshate hi avasthanam api kodohanam kachi.
Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Diheshu Grihamedinam Nalakshatehi Avasthanam Api Godohanam Tvachit.
Nonam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grihamedhinam Nalakshate hi avasthanam api godo hanam kvachit.
Hare Krishna. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Griheshu Grahamedhinam Nalakshyate hi avasthanam api godohanam kvachit. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else?
Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Bruheshu Gruhamedhinam Na Lakshate Yavasthanam Api Godohanam Kvachit.
Hare Krishna. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Graheshu Grahamedhinam Na Lakshayate hi avasthan api godohanam kvachita.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay, the synonyms. Nunam, because. Bhagavata, of you who are powerful. Brahman, O Brahmana. Griheshu, in the houses. Grihamedhinam, of the householders. Na, not. Lakshate, are seen. He, exactly. Avashtanam, staying in. Api, even. Godohanam, milking the cow. Kvachit, rarely. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O powerful Brahmana, It is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow. Purport. Saints and sages in the renounced order of life go to the houses of householders at the time they milk the cows, early in the morning, and ask some quantity of milk for subsistence. A pound of milk fresh from the milk bag of the cow is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values, and therefore saints and sages live only on milk. Even the poorest of the householders keep at least 10 cows, each delivering 12 to 20 quarts of milk. And therefore, no one hesitates to spare a few pounds of milk for the mendicants. It is the duty of the householders to maintain the saints and sages like the children. So a saint like Shukadev Goswami would hardly stay at the house of a householder more than 5 minutes in the morning. In other words, such saints are rarely seen in the houses of householders. And Maharaj Parikshit therefore prayed to him to instruct him as soon as possible. The householders also should be intelligent enough to get some transcendental information from visiting sages. The householders should not foolishly ask a saint to deliver what is available in the market. That should be the reciprocal relation between the saints and the householders. Text number 40. Sutta uvacha evama bhava shtita pritsta narajna shlakshanaya grira pratabhya basta dharma Gyano Bhagavan Badrayani. This is the last sloka of this chapter and of this canto. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the king thus spoke and questioned the sage, using sweet language. Then the great and powerful personality, the son of Vyasadeva, who knew the principle of religion, began his reply. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first canto, 19th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Sukadev Goswami. And this is the end of the first canto. Hare Krishna. Om Agyanatimbadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Umhalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough to milk a cow. So we have Maharaj Parikshit. He's sitting on the bank of the Ganges, looking north, and he is, all the sages and saints have assembled, and along with the greatest among the sages, Srila Sukadev Goswami. And Maharaj Parikshit wants to hear from Srila Sukadev Goswami. And this verse, we can see it as a glorification of and a request of Srila Sukadeva Goswami from Maharaj Parikshit. He's saying that you rarely stay long enough in a person's house for them to milk a cow. So please speak what you need to say very quickly, because I know you could leave at any moment and go to your next destination. And indirectly, he's saying, he's begging him to stay longer for the remainder of his life, Maharaj Parikshit's life, which is finite, only 7 days, and speak to him this Srimad Bhagavatam. Just the other day, when His Holiness Chandramali Maharaj was here, he was talking about the cows, and this purport touched on the cows as well. And it was they tie right into each other, and especially when it said that a pound of milk fresh from the milk bags of a cow is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values. And therefore, the saints and sages, they used to live pretty much on milk, or could sustain themselves on milk, and thus they would, beg in the early morning time, for a little bit of milk. And when New Vrindavan first began, I guess they took inspiration from this. And Chandramali Maharaj was saying how they would drink a lot of milk every day, and that would be basically one of their main sources of food. And but then the devotees started getting sick, and Prabhupada said because they were drinking too much milk. It was an excessive amount, and he said anywhere between a half a pound and a pound, but you shouldn't exceed after that. And then when I saw this here in this purport, and he says a pound of milk, it just tied those two stories together. But the point here is that why do the sages only stay long enough in the houses of men just to milk the cow and receive some milk in return? So there are two types of householders. They're divided into two classifications. And one is in this verse, the word used is griha medhinam, or griha medhi. And that is one group of householders. And the other is the grihasta. The griha medhi is the classification of householders who do not know the value of life. Griha medhis, they're interested in acquiring wealth, sustaining family for reputation. And although they may be good people, they're consumed in their life with developing community service, society, nation, politics, science, vacations, setting up education facilities, and they spend their life thinking that this is the value of life. They are ignorant and have no understanding that the purpose of life is actually to reestablish one's relationship with Krishna. That is the griha medhi. The grihasta, on the other hand, they live together with the family, the wife, the husband, the children, but their life is for transcendental purposes. It's for realizing the absolute truth. They serve together. They develop a temple within their house. So the food that they eat is prasad, offered to the Lord. They do kirtan together. They read and hear about the scriptures together. They become educated on the purpose of life. And they learn through that education not to become jealous of others. as Griha Medis, there's always this competition. Well, this family has this, therefore we need to be just like them and acquire more. So they understand that the purpose of life is for self-realization, and they live a life accordingly. They travel on vacations to different holy places, and they regularly attend the temple and render service. So this is the two distinctions between the Griha Medi and the Grihasta. As aspiring and practicing devotees, we want to be Grihastas in that category. However, because we're here in this material world and we're surrounded by so much of the material energy, oftentimes we get pulled into these different places. Sometimes you may even think, oh my gosh, I feel like such a Griha Medi, we're going to go on this, we're going to this place, we're going to that place. You have family commitments who may not be devotees. You're buying gifts and all these things. Christmas is coming, you feel pulled into it, and whatever it may be, sometimes we get provoked or tempted to fall into the tendencies of what a Griha Medi would typically do. So as devotees, we have to constantly hear from the scriptures, and always be aware that there's these two categories: Grihasta, on the pathway to Krishna; Griha Medi, although they may be good in nature, their pathway is not going to take them to Krishna. Is only going to entangle them further and deeper into material existence. So the saints and sages, when they come to the house of the Griha Medis, that's the word that's used in this verse, they only stay for a short amount of time. They receive some milk, or maybe they get a donation, and then they move on. They don't stay for two reasons. One, they don't want to risk the entanglement, because who you associate with too long, if they're not Krishna conscious, there's always the tendency that you could also absorb some of their association and get pulled down. The second reason is because they have no interest in learning about the absolute truth. So therefore, they have really no purpose there. However, there is some benefit to the Griha Medi, because they are giving some donation to, and they're rendering some service to these saints who do know the purpose of life. So just by rendering some service to these devotees, then they're actually making some progress. So this is actually an act of compassion by the sages to go to these houses and actually ask for something. It's for the benefit of the Griha Medi that they're actually able to render some service to these saints and sages. But they don't stay very long, because if they would speak about the purpose of life, they know there would be no interest. However, the Grihastas, on the other hand, you would find a devotee, saint or sage who's traveling. They actually like to give their association and stay for several days at the houses of such people. Why? Because they say they share the same purpose in life. And it's reciprocal, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in this in the purport. By rendering service to the devotee, this is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shushu shro shodadanasha vasudeva kata ruchi sayan mahat sevaya vipra punya tirtha nashevanat. By serving the devotees who are completely freed from all vices, a great service is done. And by such service, one gains an affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. And in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the eagerness to hear about the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering into the kingdom of God. So when these great devotees travel and spend time in the house of grihastas, they come to speak about the qualities of Krishna and how to engage in devotional service, to inspire the grihasta to go deeper into their spiritual life. And by rendering service, when the grihasta renders service to the devotee, they actually develop the qualification or eagerness to want to do such service. Therefore, when we spend time with these very special devotees, we often become very inspired or enthused in our spiritual life. Just a few moments with such wonderful saintly people, we're able to actually catapult or spark, ignite that potential within us to want to deepen our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And enthusiasm becomes prominent in our life. This is the power of sadhu sangha. And this is what these great devotees come to give. And the relationship between such, that's also stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Tadvidi pranipratena pariprashena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. It's the relationship with the spiritual master, is that we should render service to the spiritual master, and then we should inquire submissively from the saintly devotee. And then the self-realized soul, they can impart knowledge unto us. And that is the relationship. We render some service, and then we hear about Krishna. By hearing about Krishna, our hearts become cleansed and we become inspired to practice Krishna consciousness. So this is a practice that we should do. Hosting devotees, inviting devotees to stay with us. When devotees do come, or you have an opportunity to render some service, we should see how we can render some service to them. And it can be simply just asked of them, is there any service that I can render to you? That is a very basic and humble way to approach a traveling devotee. And there may be something very practical that they may need done. Or they may just start speaking to you about Krishna. And you should take the time to hear about Krishna. And sometimes there may be other things going on in your life. And if possible, you should try to make adjustments in your life to be able to hear, from such devotees. By doing so, you show to Krishna that you're making an attempt to organize your life in a way to honor one of Krishna's devotees, and you're making Krishna consciousness more prominent in your life. When you do such, you indicate to Krishna and his devotees that you're taking Krishna consciousness very seriously, and then Krishna bestows even more favor upon you. The last thing I'll mention here is that mundane talk with saintly people should be avoided if possible. it's stated that a householder should not foolishly ask a saint to deliver what is available in the marketplace. We should take the time that a saint may give as very precious moments. So general talk about the news or politics or general things, we should not look to engage them in such activity. We should not treat them like ordinary people, but see that they're actually carrying a valuable gem with them of Krishna consciousness. This is also how we should associate with the devotees when we come to the temple. When we go to the temple, this is the place where Krishna is being worshipped exclusively. In the same way, when we see saints, we should go to the temple with the same mood of, how can I render some service? How can I, and we should go to the temple also to try to hear the message of Krishna. And this, when we have this approach, we'll see that our mentality and our enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness will be elevated. So that here is the thoughts I had to share on this verse. Let's stop now. It's 8:30. I'd like to ask any questions, realizations, or comments from the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for completing the canto for us today. These same points have been reiterated over the last couple of classes. Charachandra Prabhu on Tuesday also, very starkly with his example, told us how we shouldn't be asking them for, like Prabhupada is saying, what's available in the marketplace for mundane benedictions from. It made us realize how careful we should be and how conscious we should be with our practices here. These people have a gem, they have so much valuable information to share. And if we go to them and, like Dhruv Maharaj says, ask for a piece of glass when a diamond is available for the taking, it will be a crying shame. So that is something that I have been meditating on over the last couple of days, and waiting to hear what Sukadev Goswami has to say starting in the next canto. Able to hear all of that also, I think we have to be very careful and learn to practice these instructions of not getting stuck in mundane matters and understanding that there's really important stuff that we should be focusing on.
We see over and over again in the Bhagavatam, there's this glorification of these saintly devotees. When Maharaj Yudhisthira, he glorified Vidura, and he says, you are a traveling tirtha, or a traveling holy place, because wherever you go, you're actually carrying, the holy place with you. And what does that mean? A holy place is a place where there's a remembrance, constantly remembrance about the pastimes of the Lord. So that's what these devotees are. And what do? They come and they speak about Krishna's pastimes. They speak about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. They raise and elevate our consciousness. The holy place isn't just a place where you go on vacation to say, okay, I went and I, circled around, did parikrama around, and okay, now I'm going to the next place. Bhagavatam also states that, a person who has that consciousness of you're going to a holy place simply just to take a bath, but not associate with the saintly devotees that live there. Their consciousness is like an ass, meaning not very developed. So we see that at the crux of it is this association of saintly people who carry the potency of Krishna consciousness. They carry Krishna with them. Literally, they carry Krishna with them. And therefore, they're worshipable. So we have to understand this. And we have to understand why. Why is such a prominence placed on saintly devotees? And when we understand that, we can start making adjustments in our life to try to hear from them. Nowadays, we have the opportunity to hear via medium of YouTube and such, classes. But if we actually have the opportunity, to see in person, that's even greater, because then there can actually be the hearing, but there also can be the rendering of service and developing of a relationship. And these devotees, by their nature, are very compassionate, and they want to see that you become uplifted. So they'll encourage you in different ways. We don't want to miss out on that opportunity as part of Krishna consciousness.
Yes, and so that's also another opportunity for us to offer gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for making this available to us, these opportunities, the temples and the visiting devotees who come and, like you said, are so compassionate, and they will help us progress. They will help us, do better in our Krishna consciousness. So again, another opportunity to offer gratitude to him. Those 7 principles so concisely listed in helping us and having a system in place.
Yes. And it was mentioned, common examples given about how to associate. The association, if one can get personal association, that is they call that serving the vapu. And that is always beneficial. The vapu, or the form of the spiritual master or the saintly devotee, that gives us some practical service, but it has to be active, service. It's not simply just you're around them. They're going to do a picture, so you jump in the picture and you post it on Facebook and say, hey, look, where I was. And that's not the real association. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a fly that's sitting on the lap of a king. He's in the proximity of the king, but he's really not associating and doing anything valuable or getting any type of knowledge or anything like that. So we don't want to be like that either. We want to be able to really uplift and change our consciousness. Anything else?
Don't see any other hands up.
Okay. This is a monumental day. We began the first canto, must have been maybe 2 years ago. It was sometime during COVID. So we've come to the conclusion of one of the 12 cantos. And so congratulations to all the devotees that are regularly attending these classes and have been here. I hope that your Krishna consciousness has been elevated due to these regular classes. And, please stay with us as we go through the second, third, fourth, and all the way up to the 12th canto. Okay. Anything else before we conclude today? Dr. David, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say I am so thankful for these classes and being able to be here whenever I can. They are invaluable. Every class is fantastic, and I always go away with something to think about and something to work on. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Nice class.
Yeah.
Then part of things, the one we went today, that purport, these unfortunately were in Kali Yuga and this time. We cannot have all those things, but whatever little we can do, we should follow that. It's like, inviting sages and then giving them milk and then keeping the cows in the house. All those things, unfortunately, we don't have those facilities now. Very unfortunate. But,
Yeah,
but
we live in cities. We don't live
Yeah.
at that time, they had their own, plots of land, communities, and, extended families. So our society is not like that right now. We live in more, we live in city and suburban life, and, you can't even get a cow. They won't even let you have a cow in your backyard.
if they come to the house also, we have to buy the milk from the store and then give them. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
So those are the unfortunate things we are in Kali Yuga now.
Yeah, but there's adjustments we can make, and they understand that, because a lot of these, they know the
That's true.
the times that are here. So, when a person comes, it says that you give them a nice place to sit, something nice to to drink, something refreshing to drink, offer some kind words of appreciation, and ask how you can serve them, and then you listen to what they have to say.
Like you said, no politics, nothing.
That's very simple.
Discussions with the sages.
Yeah. The main thing is you listen and inquire submissively. That is the main thing. And that's what they want to give.
As after Parishit Maharaj, he was asking all that for us. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
The way he was asking questions, the way we are getting very good results, because he asked Parishit Maharaj.
Yeah.
So he knows that he will be in 7 days' time only he has. But it's very, very curious. These questions are very nice. He's asked, the way he was asking. It's very much helpful for us.
And that's our example. Right? That's our example. And it'll help us transform our consciousness. We'll understand that these are the types of questions that we need further elaboration on. So we just have to follow this path. We just have to follow this path and the examples that's set. And but if we deviate and get into our own minds and we start thinking about our own material situation and become overly consumed with that, we'll fall into the category of Griha Medi. And that is a completely that's a life of entanglement. And when we look at the society today, it's basically complete with that. I can look at my own my family, my sisters and my parents, and it's all about establishing one's family, establishing one's education, where are we going on vacation this year, and what cars are we going to buy, and talking with family nonstop, over the phone, and and you can spend your whole life that way. And then what happens? A family member dies, then everybody gets, very sad. Okay, this person's, then another one dies, and then another one, okay, and then another one is born, and it goes through the cycle. And one family is no different than any other family, because these same things are happening, in millions of families all around the world.
Right.
But we think something special is happening within our own family. This person's going on vacation. Look, they went to Paris. Oh, happy for them. Look at that. This one is having a surgery, an operation. Let us all pray. It's just constantly going on. But no one is actually trying to understand, at the end of life, what do we want to actually accomplish? Because
but if something goes,
it's dying, we see Aunt Alice dying, we see, Uncle Tom, he's dying, and we see, Jenny, she's just being born, and so-and-so is going to school. And then you fast forward 50 years, those people that are just born, now they're dying, and new people are being born. And, family reunions come, and barbecues in the summer, and 4th of July and Christmas and birthday.
temporary enjoyment.
Yeah, it's just a continual cycle. And there is an attractiveness to this if we don't hold tight to the practice of Krishna consciousness. We can actually get swept into this very quickly. And therefore sticking very closely to the devotees, and associating with Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing it regularly, hearing it with in the association of devotees. We have to make a conscious effort to make this a part of our lives.
Like Bhakta David said, this Zoom is very much, thanks to Zoom class, it's very much helpful. So you feel like that you are with the devotees and then talking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. And we may need to associate with our families, and in ways to take care of certain things, but we get in and we get out. We don't become really consumed, right? We do the needful, and then we go.
Hare Krishna. It's a good chance to practice scripture and practice what we're learning.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity.
It's a very good opportunity. Thanks, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, everybody have a wonderful Krishna conscious day.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
See you tomorrow morning for Canto 2, Chapter 1, Verse 1. Shila Prabhupada ki